Aloha and welcome to Maui Manao. I'm your host, Alan Texeira, and today we will be discussing the conclusion of the 2013 legislative session with our Maui Senate delegation, Senators J. Kalani English, Senator Roz Baker, and joining us for the first time, Senator Gilbert Keith Agran. Welcome, Senators.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I was hoping we could begin by welcoming Senator Agran to our lovely show.
Oh, thanks, Alan. I'm glad to be here. I think just the transition from the House has been kind of interesting. It's like moving from intermediate school to high school. So I'm really glad I had some friends, because that's always the hardest thing, is to meet the new people, try to understand how things work. So I'm glad that I think I did okay this year with their help.
No, you were a great addition to our team. But yeah, the Senate does operate a little bit differently than the House, don't they?
Some people say more efficiently. I'm not sure what the House would say about that.
Well, it's a matter of perspective, right? But we're very happy to have Gil join us. And you know what I think one of the hallmarks of this session is that we actually sat down quite a bit during this session and talked about the different issues. And I guess a hallmark for us is that people know that we coordinate well. And so when issues come up, generally Maui would have a united front, and we say this is how we view it and move ahead. So we have a formidable team of 3 here in the Senate.
And I think Roz and I also had to deal with, we had some new representatives who are also representing our communities in the House, and I think we had to sort of spend a little bit of time with them just to give them a little bit of guidance and some advice about things. And I think overall, I think Maui County did pretty well.
I think so. It was a treat to have Representative Kaniela Ing representing the south side of my district. And I have to say he did very well. He sat on House Finance Committee, and his number one job was to make sure that the House included money for Kihei High School in the version of the budget that they sent over. Fortunately, Governor had agreed to put the entire amount in the budget. $130 million is a big ask. And so Kaniela got 65 in and came over, and we ended up with the full authorization. We were able to get agreement on $130 million authorized for construction for Kihei High School, and we have $30 million in GEO bonds in the budget that will allow us to do the site work, the infrastructure work, and really get it going. So it was good to work with the new representative from South Maui.
He has a lot of energy.
He does. Yes, he does. I can't wait to see the end of session skit that the freshmen are going to do.
Oh, yes.
That's an annual thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I saw them practicing outside my window near the Capitol Pond.
Oh, no.
I think my replacement, Justin Woodson, also worked pretty hard, but I think he's got a little bit of a different personality than your new representative.
Yes.
I think he spent a lot of time, doing a lot of talking with people behind the scenes and trying to learn how the process works. And I think that bodes well for next session, I think, because I think he did pretty well in understanding how the House works and how to make clear what his priorities are. And I think he worked well with me in identifying what we wanted to have, and he was helpful in getting the additional money for the Central Maui Regional Park that Lieutenant Governor Tsutsui hopes will be breaking ground in just about 18 months or so.
Well, and I want to give kudos to Representative Woodson as well, because he was on the Finance Conference Committee that was looking at the beach renourishment bill that we had for Kaanapali Beach. And although a number of those conference committees seemed to fall apart at the end, he was dogged and made sure that Finance had released, Ways and Means had released, but there were some issues with that particular conference. But I'm confident that because of everything that came together just from the money side, and HTA made a commitment, DLNR made a commitment to do the MOU, so we've got the private money, we'll have HTA money, so we can get that project started. But I really want to thank Justin for trying to take care of us and making sure he informed me, he informed Representative McKelvey as well.
Well, I think Justin did a really good job of coming and talking to everybody.
Yes.
I have Auntie Libby in my office is his auntie. So, she gave a lot of direction to him. I remember when he got appointed, she went over to the house side and said, "Okay, I'm the auntie, and where's his office?" So Justin was really good at coming, and he often came and sought advice, and said, "I don't understand this," or "What's happening here?" So I think we have a great Maui team, and likewise my two representatives, Mele and Kyle. I mean, Kyle was successful in putting in the budget $14 million for King Kekaulike High School, the auditorium, which we've been working for a long time, and I think that bodes well for our district. We also have, there's a lot of other things that we're moving, but in general, I think the Maui team did very well.
Yes. One of the really outstanding projects that this legislature funded is the $20 million for Lapoa Point.
Yes.
And I know that Angus and I worked really well together to try to make sure that everybody understood how special this place was and what a great opportunity we had to buy it from Maui Land and Pine. And the proceeds from that sale will go to make sure that the pension plan for the former employees is funded and that their retirement nest egg is not in jeopardy. So that was really important. And then we'll have an MOU that will work with the Hawaii Islands Land Trust and DLNR to set up the management plan for it. So this was really very creative and very innovative and very forward-thinking. It was truly a gift to the people of Maui County.
Oh, it's a banner for all of Hawaii.
Sure.
I mean,
Yes.
it's a huge land purchase. It's something that I think all of Hawaii will benefit from, and it's a really good. Well, you can call it a public-private partnership.
Exactly.
Because we have the private side helping with management, the public side trying to purchase it, and a very ecstatic community out there.
Yes, oh
So,
yes.
and
They were all stoked.
And we cannot forget, Roz, your hard work. You worked for years on this project. So,
And Kihei High School.
and
Yes.
Kihei High School. I mean, congratulations. You
Thank
did
you.
really well.
Well, I had to think about Patsy Mink when I found out that those funds were in the budget, because that was one of the things that she had wanted to do, was to preserve more of those lands on Northwest Maui to make sure that they could stay in conservation in perpetuity.
Excellent.
And it was also done in a way that made sure that the workers who
Yes.
retired
Yes.
that live in your district and my district,
Right.
Yes.
that they were going to have their pensions funded.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I don't think people understand what was going on. I mean, Maui Land and Pine was going to sell some land to fund their pensions.
Yes.
So we just said, well, we'll buy this, and you use that money to pay for the pensions for your former workers. So, it's a win-win-win.
Yes.
I mean, we've essentially assured all those who work for Maui Land and Pine that have retired that there'll be money there for their
Yes.
retirement.
And
Yes.
both in Haile Maile and in West Maui.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
So yeah, it was very innovative, very forward-thinking, and it really took care of a lot of people in Maui County. So it's a great day, banner day for us.
Everybody's happy on that.
Yes.
Well, can we move into some legislation? I mean, we're discussing bills, and we've just reached the end of the 2013 session. You guys, please describe
Well,
any
I
legislation.
think Raj should talk about a bill that's been on the Women's Caucus agenda for over a decade or longer.
Yes.
And it finally passed, and
Yes, we passed the Compassionate Care Bill, which is to provide emergency contraception to rape victims in the ER. And, it's standard of care, and we were one of the last states to finally accomplish it. And I have to say, if it hadn't been for leadership of Della Bellotti on the House side, House Health, Senator Green, Senate Health, and the governor's administration, they stepped forward and said, this is important. This is something we don't want to re-victimize rape victims. We need to be supportive. And virtually every hospital came on board. So I was so pleased that finally we could do that. And now, we know that women are going to be raped, and all ages, they now have this available to them, and it's one less thing they have to worry about in their recovery.
Excellent.
Well, we've had, I could call this a very nice year for transportation.
Yes.
The entire transportation budget was about $1.2 billion, which is a huge amount. But if you think about what it does, it's the airports, the roads, and the harbors. And we got some really concentrated effort on bridges, which is something we've been concerned about for a long time. A lot of bridge work in this year's budget. We've reauthorized a lot of monies for the harbors to fix up our harbors. So 13 harbors in the state. It's really important because we have a system of just-in-time delivery. So in other words, you know, the cereal on the shelf in the store, you know, was on the ship 3 days before it reached your store. We don't have warehouses anymore. So we don't put things in warehouses, keep it there, and then move it out. It's just in time. It comes in, hits the stores. So if we back up at the harbors, prices go up, everything gets backed up, and so we're very conscious of this and putting a lot of monies into making sure the harbors are up to speed so that we can make sure our goods get here in time. And then the airports.
Yes, our airports are in great need of modernization. We go in and out of Kahului all the time, and we can attest to the fact that they certainly need to be uplifted. Both their internal moving sidewalks, and of course my favorites are the bathrooms. So I'm hoping that they'll be starting those projects soon.
Yes.
So appreciate Senator English's leadership in making sure that those important airport projects were funded.
And I think the major projects like the rent-a-car facility, as well as the new access road that basically will replace Dairy Road, I think is on track now to get started.
Yes, and then some long projects. I mean, there's some monies to look at the Kihei Upcountry Highway, you know, which has been on the books for a very long time. We're looking at Paia Bypass finally. So there's a lot of projects that, you know, people have wanted for a long time, and we're finally getting to the point of, okay, we can start moving ahead.
And I have to say, for West Maui Airport, everybody was very concerned with Island Air deciding not to fly into that airport any longer, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there'll be some very good news that Hawaiian will be able to fly in with their new propeller planes, and that will make a real difference to the golfers that come over and other visitors who want to just fly into West Maui and go right straight to their hotels and not have to follow the poly to get there.
And we did put a bunch of monies in for the small airports, for Kapalua,
Yeah.
for Hana, for Kalaupapa, for Molokai, for Lanai, and the other small airports in the state, because realizing that we need to make sure that infrastructure is well cared for and in place in anticipation of Ohana Airlines, in anticipation of Alaska Airlines, the other airlines that want to come in and service the rural areas.
And I think I want to give some kudos to the local DOT officials.
Yeah.
Like, for
Yes.
example, I think we get complaints all the time from residents. One that came in recently was about the speed limits on Kahumanu Avenue going past Baldwin High School. If you drive up there, you can see every day that there are kids crossing at Maui Lani Parkway and other places. I think Roz contacted DOT, and immediately she got a response from Charlene Shibuya and Ferdinand Kajigal, and they're going to take a look at the issue, and hopefully we'll be able to address that.
Yeah, we are very lucky. Our Maui Highways DOT people are very responsive. You know, even some of the projects that may not be in their kuleana, but if they've got pavers in the area, they fixed one of the trestles that the sugarcane train uses on Fleming Road. It had just deteriorated, but they were over there paving the road, so they, you know, threw some asphalt in it until the sugarcane train can get it fixed. But, you know, they really try to help us address concerns in the community.
And you know, we have Marvin Moniz at the airports.
Exactly.
I mean, he is completely responsive, and you know, three of us talked to him yesterday about some issues at the airport. But you know, because of that, the local Maui-based administrators, you know, we have some really good response. I mean, Kahului Airport is, you know, it's old. There's a lot of issues, and Marvin really makes the best of what he has. He's also responsible for the small airports, for Hana, Kalaupapa, Lanai, Molokai. I'll give you an example. You know, I went to Lanai a few weeks ago, and the grass was really overgrown there. So well, you know, because that's how it is sometimes. And I came back, called them, and you know, they said, okay, we're going to get on it, and got there. I mean, really, it's an arrangement with Lanai Company, where because of their transition, I think the Lanai Company folks were supposed to help keep that down, and just in the transition, it got lost. So, you know, but it got cleaned up, and everybody's happy, and so, you know, the local guys really stepped to the plate.
You know, the other thing, department that we rely on a lot for our small boat harbors, and that's what Lahaina is DLNR. And one of the bills that we had introduced and made it through was to allow a Native Hawaiian canoe to be berthed in and around the harbor, because we don't have the Carthaginian anymore, but we do want to make sure that there is that sense of place there. And you know, it was the first capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii, and so it's important that we tie all of those historic pieces together. So being able to have an ocean-going canoe there is going to be a teaching opportunity for the visitors, and it'll be a nice place for our residents as well.
And one little thing that was done this year for DLNR also is they will now get $3 million from the transient accommodations tax. We all know the link between the hotel room tax and, you know, the kind of things that people come to see in Hawaii and things that they expect. And DLNR is responsible for a lot of that. So one of the changes that was made this year was to direct $3 million to them.
And that will be part of the funds that will be used with the beach renourishment. So kudos to former Senator Mike McCartney, who now heads up HTA. The other thing that we did with the HTA bill, the transient accommodations bill this year, was to give some certainty to the counties about you know, how much they will get. So we won't be hopefully going back and forth, and they'll understand when they're putting their budget together what the expectation is for them to receive. So
the counties rely on the TAT.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And we understand that. In fact, we've been the ones that have to come in every year and fight and say, no, the counties need this. You know, but that's their part of their operating monies. You know, and I think we have a good relationship with the county officials. You know, so a lot of times the county, different departments will call us, the heads will call us and say, you know, what does this bill do? We don't understand it. Or they call and say, please, this bill is really bad, or we really need this one. So that type of integration really works well for us. You know, and from my perspective, dealing with transportation, you know, I deal a lot with David Good at Public Works in Maui County, and he's been absolutely responsive. You know, last year when we had floods and a land bridge collapsed, I mean, David, thinking back to another director, David was, you know, right there and just jumped in and said, well, let's fix it, and we figure out the jurisdiction and figure out all of this later.
And that's the way it should be, because people don't care if it's a state road or a county road. They just want their problems addressed. And I think we work well with the counties for that reason.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you know, so they fixed the road, and then after we dealt with, okay, how do we get the monies and get the resources, and everything got sorted out.
You know, one of the other measures that really sailed through the legislature, I was so happy to be a part of, was to allow beneficiaries of drug benefit plans in rural areas, or anywhere actually, to opt out of a mandatory mail order receipt of your drugs. And you know, there's a lot of folks, whether they're seniors or others, maybe taking multiple prescription drugs, and if they don't have that interaction with their local pharmacist, they may not take them properly. You know, there may be interactions that if they're seeing different providers, never know. And so this was something that our community pharmacists came to the legislature to talk about, and working with Senator Ige and others, we were able to craft something that will allow them the opt-out provision and really not, I think, impact either EUTF, which is the state and county workers benefit program, or any of the other privates. So I think that was really landmark legislation.
And absolutely, and this is, I mean, it squarely is my district. I mean, it helps Molokai and Lanai, that's Molokai drugs, you know, and this is really the old style, right? I mean, that this little company goes out and helps to set up the medicines for their people, goes in and, you know, makes sure that everything is good. They fly medicines to Lanai, take medicines down to Kalaupapa. Likewise in Hana, you know, in the rural areas, this was really important. So we worked very hard to craft something that would work for this area and allow people really a choice.
The other piece is there's been a lot of concern that some of the PBMs, the big one in Hawaii is Caremark, we're using
What's PBM?
pharmacy benefit manager is Caremark.
I was wondering about
that which owns CVS, the Long's Drugs, and that they had been inappropriately using patient information. So the other measure we passed says, no, that's a prohibited practice. Unless you get consent, you cannot market to the people that are receiving their drugs from you.
Well, yeah, and we had some other fun bills. Well, the honey bill passed this year.
Yes, the honey bill passed finally.
You know, so
That happened so early in session, I almost forgot about it.
You know, it's a bill that we've been supporting for the last couple of years. Basically, it says that if you produce honey in the rural area, you can actually sell it. The issue was, you know, that the Department of Health said you needed to connect to county water, and of course, in the rural areas, we don't have county water. But a lot of people have private water systems that exceed the federal standards. So, and of course, we all know that honey is sterile, and if you add water, you don't add water to honey. You're not supposed to. So anyway, this bill is a really good one because it will allow people that produce honey in rural areas to bottle and sell their honeys locally.
And not have to go to a honey aggregator, which means that they'll get more return on their investment.
Well, with remaining time, we can either discuss capital improvement projects or further legislation.
Well, I mean, I think we covered a lot of our capital improvement projects. You know, going forward, we're heading into interim. That's the time that we do, you know, a lot of.
That's another question I had. What are you guys going to do during interim?
Well, we had a lot of district work. You know, going out and seeing, checking on projects that are in the works, seeing things to come, and helping to get legislation ready for next year. But you know, like recently, I think it was last weekend, I went to Molokai, and you know, I got to say, I'm really proud of how they're coming along over there. It was for a sad occasion. Moana Dudua passed away, and so I went up for her funeral, and I was really heartened to see how literally thousands of people came together. You know, for Hawaiian style, we count how many pigs, right? And so there were 6 pigs for Moana's funeral, which is huge, and everybody donated and came together, and it reminded me that, you know, Molokai no kaheke. Molokai is still the best.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of activity in the interim, but one of the things that's in my particular committee jurisdiction had to do with condominium law, and there were a few little glitches from some of our mortgage foreclosure reform that we had to fix and address, and so I think the AOAOs, the association that manages the condominiums, will be very happy with the legislation we passed. It allows them to continue to go forward with their non-judicial foreclosure for liens that a delinquent owner who may be in judicial foreclosure from the lender, allow them to take possession of the unit, rent it out, recoup some of the maintenance fees that they're lost. And so I think it's really going to help that subset of owners here in Hawaii.
And the zombie bill passed.
Yes, the Kalani's zombie bill passed.
Zombie title. You want to explain that a little bit?
What happens sometimes is a property will be foreclosed upon, and then the bank just won't do anything. They'll kick the owners or the residents out, but then they'll just sit on it. And so it leaves it really in limbo.
Legal title is still with the person they kicked out. So all the taxes, all of the everything still runs with the legal owner.
Yes.
So that's why you'll drive around and you'll see some houses where obviously no one's living there. The grass is overgrown, the weeds, and no one's taking care of it, and it's because of the situation.
And then at the end of the year, they get a tax bill, and they say, well, we thought the banks took it, but the title is still in there.
Yeah.
It's called the zombie title.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you know, the person thought that the bank took it, and the bank never took legal title.
Wow.
So this zombie title bill really required for, you know, notice and follow up, and I think it will help a lot of people that are in that sort of legal limbo. They're out of their house, they think the bank has it, but the bank is just sitting on it.
I love the title.
Yeah.
That's what it's called, zombie title.
We did pass the green infrastructure bill,
Yes.
We did.
but we did not deal with the solar tax credit. But more importantly, I think I'm waiting to see what the PUC task force says about allowing normal people to get access to the program, because I think we've seen the problem where the circuits are full, and the only way a normal resident can get on is to do an interconnection study,
Which is $3,000
Yeah.
minimum.
yeah. So what homeowner is going to be able to afford that,
Exactly.
as well as buying the PV system.
So the green infrastructures are really, I think we're the first in the nation
Yes,
to do it.
on-bill financing.
On bill. So basically, you want to put in a photovoltaic system. Previously, you had to, pay a lot of money for the Connect study. Then you have to pay for the systems. Now, once this is in place, it's on your electric bill, and it runs with the meter. So, you put in a photovoltaic system, you're paying that down through your electric bill. But if you sell your house, it goes with the meter. Whoever buys it, that loan goes with them. So whoever's paying that electric bill pays down that meter. So we're hoping that this will make photovoltaic accessible to many, many more people.
Well, and it also opens it up for landlords who have rental properties, because maybe you didn't want to do that, but now because it goes with the meter, it'll be something that your renter can help pay down as well, and it's a win-win for everyone. So yes, this is very much cutting edge. We had a number of pieces of legislation this year that we know that other people are looking at what we were doing and potentially will be copying.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
photovoltaic systems can be so expensive.
Yes, yes.
And it's not only for photovoltaic, it's other green renewable energy sources. If you want to put in something else, you could.
Oh yeah, if you do, I've seen some very small wind turbine systems that could be used as well.
So overall, how would you judge or assess this last session? Productive?
I think we had a very productive session. I think for Maui County we had a great session.
I think we had a banner year at this session.
Yes.
Maui County came out very well, very good, and more importantly, though, I think that we got some landmark pieces of legislation through, and everything went relatively smooth. In other words, I'm thinking back to other sessions where it was very chaotic, and we didn't quite have that. So, we didn't have the huge money crunch that we normally have. A lot of projects that needed to get funded did get something. So yeah, I think we did very good this year.
Because we passed legislation that would help subsidize the pay increases for the employees with the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, that means Maui Memorial. Also some upgrades for their electronic health records and other infrastructure improvements at Maui Memorial. It's very, very important for all of us who rely on our health care there.
And there's one bill that we're going to vote on, I guess, on Thursday. I think we did approve one version of it, but it's to start dealing with the unfunded liabilities.
Yes.
And
yes,
so that
very important.
over the course of hopefully 4 or 5 years, we'll be paying the entire amount that we need to be paying annually.
And
yes, we put $100 million in the budget to go just for the unfunded liability, and then the bill that Senator Keith Agaran is talking about would actually put us on a schedule to do that a number of years into the future to make sure we get caught up.
And the unfunded liability is our retirement,
yes.
our medical,
yes.
All the stuff that everybody's going to rely on. We have to make sure that the funds are really there.
Yes.
Well, Senators, we're just about running out of time. Thank you so much for joining us again. I mean, I know we're going to continue to do these episodes, and I'm sure everyone enjoys them. We talk about it in the Senate. Thank you very much, Senators, for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Maui Manao. Aloha and mahalo.